So I'm getting some questions about my recurve setup, and now I don't even consider myself a traditional archer. This may sound weird. I'm just a guy who likes bows, and I've always wanted a recurve, but I could never afford one. So if that makes me a trad person or a traditional archer, I guess so. But I do like the modern technology of the Hoyt satori. That was the bow that I specifically wanted since it came out. I think that the other ones were the Buffalo and the Hoyt Dorado or something like that. But once this came out, that was what I had my heart set on. I do appreciate the art in building traditional recurves made of wood and stuff like that. But for me, I'm a technical kind of guy, so I do like to be able to adjust things and move things and mess things up and fix them and mess them up again. But this is a Hoyt satori. It's got a 17-inch riser, a 19-inch riser and medium limbs, and I believe it's a 62-inch bow. I wanted the 64, but after talking to a bunch of people, they said the 62 would be fine, and I'm pretty happy with that. I got it set at an 8-inch brace. I have played around with the brace a little bit, but you know, it says anywhere between, I think, 7 3/8 or 7.5 and 8.5. So I just ran it at 8 inches, and I can see that you know, it's not really buried right into the limbs, or really stretching them back away from this little groove here. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I do love the bow, and I'm shooting a gold tip blemished arrows from F6 Outdoors. So if you need some, they'll ship them to you feathered. These are blemished trad hunters. There's some small cosmetic things that are wrong with them that gold tip deems to be blemished, and you make out because you get a good price on them. But these are a 500 spine. We cut 1 inch off the front, and I added a 50 grain added fact weight on the back, and I'm shooting 125 grain field tip or broadhead. And you know, I looked at the tuning charts, and they all said I needed a 500 or a 400 spine. And to me, that just didn't make any sense. And my arrows proved that when I shot them through paper. And I mean, just when you flex the arrow, I mean, a 400 spines for this setup, I'm pulling at about 49 pounds. It just didn't make sense to me. So we tried to run with the 400s, and I'm shooting bullet holes through paper. The way I shoot is I have a clicker, and I come back to anchor. And similar to if somebody's shooting back tension, you know, they start putting pressure into the release and it goes off. For me, I draw back, I anchor, I start putting a little bit of pressure, it clicks, and then I can proceed with my shot. I don't click and shoot. I also don't draw to the click. I draw back, and then it's just, I mean, it's a little bit, I mean, it's probably 1/8 of an inch at the most that I come back and put a little, it's actually, to be honest with you, it may not even be really as much of my arm position as it is my elbow. I kind of draw back and I move my elbow back a little bit, and that gets the click, and then I release the shot. The method of shooting I'm using is a fixed crawl, and I got this from doing a lot of research on shooting a traditional bow or recurve bow effectively. And instinctive shooting sounds cool, and there's other methods similar to this, like string walking and gap shooting. But you know, a lot of guys say they shoot instinctively, and you know, there's plenty that do shoot good, but the most people that I've seen that shoot instinctively are shooting 10 yards in the range, and they just have a recurve bow that they shoot and they play around with, and that's fine. But for somebody who wants to get into shooting animals and possibly shooting targets at longer distances, I think you should look into the fixed crawl. And I got the idea from the video called the Push, or the Push Archery. You know, I don't even remember the guy's name, excuse me, but I was trying to find the best way. That's what I'm always trying to find the best way to do something. And I was trying to find the best way to shoot a recurve. And the guy has a similar mentality to myself, and thus he's right. You know, it's a fixed crawl system where the tip of when I come back to full draw, I anchor in the same place every time, but the tip of my arrow is when I put the tip of the arrow on the target, that's my point of impact at my farthest distance. Is right now it's 15 yards. and hopefully I'm saying this correctly in plain English, but when I put the tip of my arrow on the target at 15 yards, it hits every time if I do everything correctly. Now that's my farthest distance, so now I know if it's within 15 yards, I aim a little bit lower, you know? And so basically you set this up to your maximum effective distance, and then you kind of gap shoot from there. Instead of trying to guess and hope that your instincts are correctly in multiple shooting situations, and instinctive shooting just takes a lot of practice that you can't really walk away from. So if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Like I said, I don't think I'm a trad guy. I like bows, and I've dreamed of owning a recurve my whole life. And I finally could afford one this year. So if that makes me a trad guy, then guess what? I'm a trad guy.